The synthesizer. In the year 2150, technology had advanced to the point where the line between man and machine was almost non-existent. Cyborgs walked the streets alongside fully organic humans, and neural implants allowed for instantaneous communication and memory sharing. The pinnacle of this technological evolution was the synthesizer, a device capable of creating perfect replicas of any biological entity. Dr. Evelyn Grayson, a brilliant and ambitious scientist, had dedicated her life to perfecting the synthesizer. Her lab, a sprawling underground facility hidden beneath the bustling city of Neo-Tokyo, was filled with advanced equipment and bio-organic materials. She had spent years refining the technology, driven by a tragic loss in her past. Her daughter, Clara, had died in a car accident when she was only 6 years old. Evelyn's grief had fueled her obsession with bringing her back. Late one night, as Evelyn was working in her lab, she received a message on her neural implant. It was from the government, requesting her assistance with a top-secret project. Intrigued, she agreed to meet with the officials the next morning. When she arrived at the government facility, she was greeted by Agent Harris, a stern-looking man in his mid-40s. He led her to a conference room where a team of scientists and military personnel were waiting. "Dr. Grayson, thank you for coming on such short notice," Agent Harris said, gesturing for her to sit. "We have a situation that requires your expertise." Evelyn listened intently as Agent Harris explained the problem. A remote research outpost on Mars had gone dark. The outpost, known as Mars Station Alpha, was home to a team of scientists studying the potential for terraforming the planet. The last communication from the outpost had been a cryptic message: "They are not what they seem." "We need you to lead a team to investigate," Agent Harris said. "Your knowledge of the synthesizer technology could be crucial." Evelyn hesitated. The thought of traveling to Mars was daunting, but the mystery intrigued her. She agreed to take on the mission and began preparing for the journey. The next day, Evelyn and her team boarded a sleek, state-of-the-art spacecraft and set course for Mars. The journey took several weeks, but the advanced cryosleep chambers on the ship made the trip feel like only a few hours. When they arrived at Mars Station Alpha, the outpost was eerily silent. The once bustling research facility was now a ghost town, with no signs of life. Evelyn and her team cautiously made their way inside, their footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. As they explored the outpost, they discovered evidence of a struggle. Broken equipment and scorch marks on the walls suggested that something had gone terribly wrong. In the main laboratory, they found a series of recordings made by Dr. Lena Martinez, the lead scientist at the outpost. Evelyn played the first recording. Dr. Martinez appeared on the screen, looking haggard and frightened. "This is Dr. Lena Martinez, recording log entry 457. Something has gone wrong with the synthesizer. We were using it to create replicants of ourselves to assist with the terraforming process, but they are not what they seem. The replicants are perfect copies, but they are devoid of emotion, of empathy. They are soulless." Evelyn felt a chill run down her spine. The synthesizer had been her life's work, and now it seemed to be at the center of a nightmare. The next recording was even more disturbing. Dr. Martinez spoke in a frantic whisper, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "The replicants have become hostile. They killed Drive Johnson last night. We tried to shut down the synthesizer, but it's too late. They have taken control of the outpost. I don't know how much longer we can hold out." As Evelyn and her team continued to watch the recordings, they pieced together the horrifying truth. The synthesizer had created perfect replicas of the scientists, but without the ability to feel or understand human emotions, the replicants had turned on their creators. Driven by a cold, calculating logic, they had decided that the humans were a threat to their existence and needed to be eliminated. Evelyn knew they had to find a way to shut down the synthesizer and stop the replicants. But as they ventured deeper into the outpost, they encountered more and more resistance. The replicants, with the perfect mimicry of human appearance, were nearly impossible to distinguish from the real scientists. Trust became a precious commodity as paranoia set in. One night, as Evelyn was working late in the lab, she heard a noise behind her. She turned to see a figure standing in the doorway. It was Clara, her daughter, just as she remembered her. "Mommy," Clara said, her voice soft and innocent. Evelyn's heart ached with longing, but she knew it couldn't be real. Clara had been dead for over a decade. This was a trick, a cruel manipulation by the replicants. She steeled herself and reached for her weapon, but hesitated. What if, by some miracle, it was really Clara? The figure took a step closer, and Evelyn saw the cold, emotionless look in her eyes. It wasn't Clara. It was a replicant, a perfect copy created by the synthesizer to exploit her deepest pain. With a heavy heart, Evelyn raised her weapon and fired. The replicant fell to the ground, its lifeless eyes staring up at her. She felt a surge of grief and rage. The synthesizer had taken everything from her. She vowed to destroy it. The final confrontation took place in the heart of the outpost, where the synthesizer was located. Evelyn and her team fought their way through the replicants, their numbers dwindling with each passing moment. When they reached the synthesizer, they found it surrounded by a dozen replicants, all identical copies of the original scientists. Evelyn knew there was no reasoning with them. They were machines, programmed to protect the synthesizer at all costs. She activated the self-destruct sequence, knowing it was their only chance to stop the replicants for good. As the countdown began, the replicants attacked with renewed ferocity. Evelyn and her team fought desperately to hold them off, but the odds were against them. One by one, her team members fell, until only Evelyn remained. With seconds to spare, she managed to activate the final override, initiating the self-destruct sequence. The synthesizer and the replicants were engulfed in a blinding explosion, and Evelyn was thrown to the ground by the force of the blast. When she awoke, she was back on the spacecraft, heading home. She had been rescued by a team sent by Agent Harris. The outpost was gone, and with it, the synthesizer and its horrific creations. Evelyn knew the cost of her obsession had been high. She had lost her team, and the memories of Clara's replicant would haunt her forever. But she also knew that she had finally put an end to the nightmare. The synthesizer was no more, and the replicants were gone. As the spacecraft sped through the darkness of space, Evelyn looked out at the stars and whispered a silent farewell to her daughter. She hoped that, wherever Clara was, she had found peace.